anyways, yeah, Lisa contacted me to just briefly go over, I think, some of the high points on the budget right before this very important vote next Tuesday, March 10th. I think we can't say that enough, and there's a lot going on here. You heard us just review, a sliver of the issues that are going on in the district, and we barely touched on a lot of the things that are important to the district and that we've talked about. But if you've listened to me over the last few months, I think the most important thing is that we pass this budget that we presented as far as the future of the district. So all these other things, really important. To me, if you're wondering, my opinion, what the most important thing is that we pass this budget that we've worked hard on, presented. So I'm just going to go over. So in review, right, our proposed budget is $33.5 million, was unanimously recommended by the school board. So again, we do have disagreements. It takes a while, but eventually, and I'm very proud this year that we were able to unanimously agree on this budget, because it's not always the case. The default budget is, you see it sitting there at about $32,031.99. So again, the difference, $1.5 million between the default and the proposed. Tax impact is usually the first question that everyone has. Ringe tax impact, if the proposed budget passes, is $1.14. Jaffrey, it's $1.95. If the default budget is adopted, so that's if the proposed budget is not approved, that's a no vote on Article 2. The tax impact to Ringe is 59 cents per thousand, and to Jaffrey, it's $1.22. So everyone's personal impact depends on their most recent property assessment, which I know is another topic of conversation in both these towns, since they were both updated this year. At the end here, I've just included some sample slides for, I can just show them, we can, for a range, right? Sometimes we just show one number, I just, put a range in there. You'll see here, and you'll notice in the chart that Jaffrey's tax impact is much higher than Ringe this year. This tends to go back and forth for different reasons, usually different reasons every year. This year, the primary reason is the reduction in the state's extraordinary needs grant to Jaffrey due to those increased property valuations. And I can show you a quick slide at the end there where that comes from. So what is funded in the proposed budget? This list it's not 100% complete, but I think it captures most of what people need to understand. So the proposed budget, so I'm talking about that difference now between default and proposed, that $1.5 million consists of athletics, which again are currently supported by emergency funds, all of the student activities that this year are supported by emergency funds, the pre-K program, the portion of which is supported by emergency funds, teaching and administrative positions that are currently supported by emergency funds. There's a number of those. Field trips, which were cut last year, and we've been lucky to get donations to support those this year. Those are back in the budget. Teacher and staff training, which was cut last year, is back in this budget. A Chromebook replacement cycle is in this proposed budget. We know how important that is. When we talk about this testing, keeping our Chromebooks updated is important for those experiences. One middle school teacher that was cut last year, we talked a lot about that. The needs in the middle school for improvement necessitated a recommendation to bring this one back. Exempt employee and superintendent salary increases. So everything that's not covered by a contract, those salary increases make that up, and the new position of the assistant superintendent. So why is the default budget higher than this year's budget, right? The default budget is still $1.21 million more than the current budget. It's due to contractual and legal obligations, as it is every year. That's the literal definition of a default budget. So again, contractual and salary obligations, that's all our union contracts, transportation contracts, et cetera. Health and dental insurance increases. We weren't so lucky this year. I know that we've had other years where we didn't have a large increase. This year, I think it was about 13 or 14%, which is still lower than some. I can say that we've already taken steps to look at how we can improve that for next year, but for this year, the guidance from the insurance company is that this is probably the best we're going to do. So we've looked into that. Special education placements and transportation, again, legally and contractually required per IEPs. Teachers required under new New Hampshire education requirements. We talked a bit about that, how some of at the state level, the new Ed 306 requirements, I think the district did a really good job, and if we're at previous meetings, we saw how we were able to kind of absorb some of those. David Dustin was able to explain how we're able to absorb most of that without an impact. However, there are new positions that require new teachers, such as a business teacher that was not required before. And kind of what John was hitting at, we do have additional vocational and CTE tuition costs. We're lucky that our students can still attend CTE programs. Unfortunately, they can't attend any here. We need to send them out and pay for it. That includes transportation, tuition, all of that. Not to pick at that scab a bit more, but that's kind of what we envision for us, right? I think I'll just let that go. In any case. So emergency funds. Last year we chose to use our emergency funds of, I think it was about $1.13 million to fund those positions that I just talked about. That emergency fund balance, it's about $30,000 that we have left in it. I think we've chosen to use some of those for other things, but it's down to about $30,000. And there are no additional funds available to restore programs or positions that are not included in the approved budget. So we just want to be very clear about that. There was some confusion about the emergency funds last year. We did choose to use them. They are, however, almost gone. And I think the big question is, and we've talked about this at previous meetings, Lisa, I think people can clarify this, but if the proposed budget fails, the programs or positions that are not included in that default budget, so all those things we're bringing back, are not automatically eliminated, right? It's not just like, well, it's settled. However, we will need to identify $1.5 million in reductions to align the spending with the default budget. So it will be very much, I think, a situation similar to last year, where we are looking to reduce the budget by $1.5 million this year, with very little emergency funds. Okay. I have the tax, I just want to open it up to the board if we need
this is excellent.
Anything else.
Yep.
So that's part of what makes your taxes go up, obviously, the increases in our budget. This is a little bit blurry, but I'll just go over the high points of it. When I talked about the increased impact to Jaffrey residents, I said it was, a portion of it was due to the change in state aid. If you look at the bottom right here, you'll see the total New Hampshire aid decrease to Jaffrey is $755,000 for fiscal year 2027. That's an 18% decrease in aid to Jaffrey. Now, what is that driven by? A little bit is due to a reduction in enrollment, right? $151,000 there. We have 30 less free and reduced lunch students in Jaffrey, which decreases aid by $64,000. Special education aid for the same amount in students increases by $6,000. This again is another part of the problem because our costs increase for the same amount of students at rates much higher than 2% a year. But that's the impact this year. The Extraordinary Needs Grant, which is a semi-complicated formula, how the state determines aid, extra aid to certain towns based on primarily valuation and free and reduced lunch students. So with Jaffrey's reevaluation, you'll see that the Extraordinary Needs Grant went from $866,000 to $310,000. So that's $556,000 less. So that, in summary, is why Jaffrey's tax impact is that much higher this year. So not only absorbing, part of the budget, but that's $755,000. Ringe, not affected as much. Again, 27 less students, $74,000. 11 less free and reduced lunch students is $23,000. 2%, an additional $4,000 in special education aid. A decrease in this Hold Harmless grant. And you'll see total aid decrease to Ringe is $102,000. Again, this has been compounding year after year, the decrease in aid, for different reasons. You can see when people say that it's due to enrollment, yes, that's partially true. This year, it is mostly not due to enrollment. It's other state aid formulas that are reducing the state aid. So I hope people can understand this. This is just for the budget, to be clear. Article 2, the proposed budget tax impact. You can see I've listed here, this is the value. So I've gone all the way from 200,000 to $1 million. So wherever your property falls, you should be able to calculate that. In Ringe, and I'll stick to just $400,000, it seems to be kind of the new standard. It's about the average cost. So the proposed tax impact for a $400,000 property in Ringe is $456. For Jaffrey, $780. That's for a yes vote on the budget, approving it. A no vote, the tax impact to Ringe on a $400,000 home is $236. In Jaffrey, it is $488. So I know that's not super complicated math, but here I have the difference, right? So the difference there, right, between the default and proposed is $220 in Ringe, $292 in Jaffrey. So that would be the taxpayer savings for voting no on your yearly tax bill. I'm not going to talk about it anymore.